Hey y'all, I wanted to come on just a little bit early from our 9 o'clock start time today. I know I sent some videos out letting you guys know that I was running behind schedule. I don't really like to do that. Of course, we can't control some of the things that come up, and that's why we're late. But thank you for those who inboxed and said, "Hey, why aren't you on?" I appreciate it. Thank you for keeping me accountable. But I had to push back. I was stuck at work. Now, I always take a few minutes to make sure that my lives are, there we go. They're not always public, so I have to make sure that I make them public, and then we can go on from there. All right, now I'm public. So anyone out there, you guys can go ahead and start sharing. Um, so our special guest today is none other than social media influencer Promise Israel. This girl, I started following her a couple months back. She really started to touch on topics of parent accountability, and I really, really enjoy her posts. And particularly, she spoke about things that I want to share today, so we can talk about some parent accountability. I think it's up. Hold on, let me see what's going on. I literally have nothing cooking, and yet that's going off. I have no idea what's wrong with that. But needless to say, let's keep moving. I'm going to have her come on so she can share a little bit about herself. But she's amazing. Let's give her the utmost respect while she's on here. She may not be a parent, but she definitely has some views on parenting. And our best teachers are the children. God will use a child to speak to us. And so that is what I hope that it resonates today. So let's have her come on. I'm so excited to have her. What's up, Promise? Are you able to hear? I think you have yourself on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There we are. Yes.
I'm so
Let,
excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here.
I don't even know how to feel right now. I'm
Well,
like
I
blushing
hope
over the
excitement. Is this your first podcast
It's the first. It's the
debut
first
or
one. It's the first one that I've accepted because it
okay?
aligns with just who I am. It makes sense. I think that you talk about stuff that needs to be heard. I think I say stuff that needs to be said, and I
Amen.
think that's why God allowed us to cross paths. So I'm super excited about tonight.
All right. Well, listen. I want the viewers to know a little bit about you because I really want them to start following you. I don't just follow anybody, okay? I really
Right.
don't just follow anybody. I watch watch what I look at, and I think that we all have to be careful with what we entertain these days. But I really appreciate you, and I think that the people have things that they need to hear from you today. So that's why I have you on. Let's talk about, parent accountability. But before that, let's know a little bit about you. Tell us about you.
Okay, well, I'm Promise Israel. I don't talk much about myself because my goal is to just allow my character to speak for itself.
Mhm.
Um, I really don't like to boast about myself at all. So all I say is I'm Promise Israel. I'm super excited to be used in this way. I feel that I was lost in the sauce not too long ago. I think we've all been there. And yeah, I mean, I do a lot. I coach. I've been an educator before. I do a lot, and I think I'm pretty good at a lot of things. So I really don't even know what to say about myself.
All right. Well,
I
that's
don't know.
fair. That's fair. I do, just because I check out your post, you ref basketball.
Yes,
Yeah. So,
yes,
so what age group do you do, or is it just all of them?
yeah. I do all age groups. I'm a sports official, and I love that. Like, I super love that. If you're looking for something to get into officiating. It teaches you so much soft and hard skills that you need in life. Of course, I started at the lower level, and now that I'm a veteran, I've been doing it for about 10 years now. So, I think I'm a big dog on the court. I do volleyball as well. So,
And
yeah,
volleyball? You
yeah,
officiate volleyball also? I didn't know that.
yeah.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. I love volleyball. Like, I just love the art of being able to manage situations.
Hmm.
Like I say, it just teaches you so much about not only accountability, because I know that's what you stand for, but it just teaches you so much about just management, and being able to see life from different angles. So, I was an athlete, and then I graduated to become a coach. So I saw the sport from that angle. And then I graduated to become an official. So I saw the sport from that angle. So it allows me to, in my day to day life, just, utilize the perspective foundation that I have when I officiate.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
All right. All right now. Well, without further ado, let's just dive deep on in it. The topic for today, guys, it's going to be on parent accountability. And this is like my part two for the episode that I previously had with poet Marie Jane. Now, she started with her first thing that came out of her mouth was, I just want to be the parent I needed. I just want to be the parent that I needed as a child. And so when she said that, I was like, well, that just took the whole conversation in that direction as to how often can we just think for a moment if we just took our parenting to a whole nother level and just, hey, what was it that you needed when you were a child and parent that way, that I think we would have better relationships with our children. That's my personal intake on that. Like, I wish I would have thought that growing up. I just did, I was a single parent. I started out as a single parent because I was also a teenager. I was
yeah,
14 when I got pregnant. And the dynamics at home, from my home, were that of, my father was a pastor, and his first thought was, I'm probably going to have to resign now. That was his initial thought. Not that, am I okay? Like,
yeah,
how did this become? Like, how did I feel as a parent? Nothing to that extent. It was just, I guess I'm going to have to resign. And so when he found out that that wasn't necessary, um, he felt a whole lot better about it. But he didn't really talk to me throughout my whole pregnancy. There was no really talk about, how did this happen? Other than who's the father, right?
yeah,
And so there was a lot of just, my dad didn't speak to me. He didn't speak much to me. When I got some attention from him is when we were at church. It was like, not to talk bad about the situation, but that's just what it was. That's how it was. Um, I love my daddy. I looked up to him. What I learned most about him was how to be a provider. But
yeah,
all that, being, a nurture, there was no nurturing for me. So
yeah,
I did not know how to do that. I wasn't very good at that. So becoming a mother at 14, and then, how I ended up supporting myself was him saying, well, money don't grow on trees, when I needed diapers,
yeah,
when I needed some milk. And when he said that to me, I didn't talk back to him. I didn't say anything to him like, well, what do you expect me to do? Like, make him feel like it was his responsibility. Back then, you if you made your bed, if you lie in your bed, you got to make it, right? So
right.
that's how he he didn't have to say much, but everything that he said were okay. So I picked up the phone. I found out like what restaurants were hiring, and I got my first job the next day. And then he didn't support me then. After that, he didn't have to support me. I managed my money with my 20 hours a week. I still went to school. Because those were things where, oh, now you're gonna drop out of school, now you're not gonna finish school. Like those were things that I had to prove myself. My love for him was to try to prove. I needed him to love me, and that was my exchange to him. Like, I'm gonna show you. I'm not gonna say much. I'm just gonna show you. And that's what I feel like everything that I've done going forward when it came to getting a job.
Mhm.
My daughter just told me this the other day, like, you realize that if you take a part-time job, you're not going to be managing it, right? Because every job you've ever had, Mom, you've always been in some sort of management position. I've always tried to
Yeah.
hit the bar, like, I'm going to shoot for I might have started part-time somewhere, but I ended up being a manager everywhere I went. So I said all that to say that my experience as being a first time mother was really still trying to prove that that I was certainly capable, but the affection that I needed from my father and the recognition that I needed from my father is really what drove me. So when it came to me having children, I then had the same expectations of my own kids, not
Mhm.
even realizing that it was stemming from, a past, my past history. And so, the way that he was with me, I ended up being with him. My father was a drill sergeant in the for the army. And so
Mhm.
I realized that I was such a drill sergeant, dealing with my kids. Excuse me, what'd you say? Who you talking to? Like, I really was very aggressive in my approach in raising them. And I don't know if you've felt, if you've been through something similar, or if you can. I know you don't have, your own children, but I know growing up, you were faced with some challenges. And is there anything in particular that you would like to share based on that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say, I mean, I just have to give you your flowers because just to become a parent at 14, I can only imagine like how scared, you were at that time and even
Very.
throughout just, the pregnancy and having the kid and, you know, and I just think that's really big and really bold of you to press through and just try to be the best example you can. And I'm so happy that we decided to wait to have this meeting because my mom and I wasn't. God is so intentional because originally we were scheduled for weeks ago, and
Hmm.
I was not where I wanted to be. Um, just with my mother, to get on here and talk about parenting. And I'm so glad that we waited because God allowed me to just discover a different perspective that adult children should take concerning their parents. So for me, I grew up with a single mother, and oh my God, the conviction that I felt when I realized I was doing so much judging. Like, I'm sitting here, it's so easy to sit back as a kid and look at everything that you think your parent is doing wrong. Now,
Hmm.
granted, um, she wasn't perfect, like nobody's perfect, but I think sometimes as a parent, y'all do what y'all need to do at the moment. And you don't foresee people getting hurt by it. So like just listening to your story, how your dad was a drill sergeant and how, he helped, you had to go and get a job and he really didn't, you saying he didn't support you, and I get it. And I think that a lot of times as kids, we look at support based off of what we see from other families. And just to hear how he, kind of forced you to grow up. Because, like you said, you made that bed, and this is where I had to just start. Not only, yeah, I want my mom to be accountable for and my dad to be accountable for the things that they inflicted on me, but at the same time, I have to appreciate what was done because you seem like a super independent, driven woman. And how would you have become that if you wasn't pushed at that time in your life? But it's so many times we don't think about that. And so when I think about the things that I went through, I used to just be so upset about having to watch my brothers and sisters. And granted, like I had a super great mom, but I had a single mother. And this is what I want to say, like, to fathers out there, like, y'all don't get it. A lot of mothers could be better if you did your part. You know, so I had to really sit with that. Like, I'm sitting up here judging my mama. I'm doing my mama like this. But where my daddy at? Like, imagine what type of mother she could have been with just that little bit of help. And so, and it's sad for moms because it all falls on them. Children blame the person they see the most, and the person that they don't see, they give that person a slap on the wrist. And I've been there, and I don't want to get too chatty because I don't know if this is just like our icebreaker. But yeah, you jump back in because girl,
No, yeah, no,
I
you're doing
get going.
excellent. And this is what happens because you and I could talk like,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
first encounter, we talked over an hour, and that was so easy to do. You're zoning in, girl. You're doing just fine.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I was pushed. Now
Yeah.
that you see it in hindsight, yeah, sometimes you have to tell your story so that somebody else can, like, hey, you know what I mean, see something else that you probably didn't see. And so I just feel like back then I grew up in a time where you didn't talk back to your parents, you didn't say, you just stayed quiet. But I think where we need to get some accountability is you tell the child to stay quiet when you're talking to them, and then when you ask them a question, they're afraid to say something because you done told them not to shut up, not to say nothing. It's those tactics that we use when we're angry, and then we hitting them upside the head, what you stupid, what you this. Like, these are the things that I'd like to address, that, those are some strange behaviors. We shouldn't
Yes.
even operating in them. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I truly believe that the best way to become a good parent is to like heal yourself because before you become a parent. But that's easier said than done.
True.
Everybody's probably in a relationship. You don't necessarily always plan to get pregnant, but once you discover that it's a baby about to enter into the world, you literally have 9 months. And that's not a lot of time because you're probably in a situation where you haven't healed anything that you're struggling with. So parents, just from looking from here, y'all are very strong individuals because it's people out there that are really trying, but it's also people out there that are not thinking about their actions and how their actions are gonna, just cause, weird things to happen in that kid's life. But I just think you should really work on healing yourself, before you become a parent and all while you're a parent, and it is difficult for a kid. I remember times where I just kind of felt like I didn't have a voice, but not necessarily. Yeah, I did. It was times I felt like I didn't have a voice. It was times I feel like I wasn't heard, but it was also just looking at it right now, just times where I know she was trying to parent 4 other kids and me. And it's so hard to blame a person who doing it on their own. Now thinking about your situation, with your dad and everything, it seems like he may have gotten lost in the sauce as far as like what people think.
Mhm.
And a lot of times parents do get lost in what people think,
Mhm.
so
For sure. For
yeah.
sure.
And I don't even know
Um,
how to solve a problem like that because that
mhm.
is just an insecurity. And it flows over, it spills over into parenting. If you're an insecure person individually
Mhm.
and you care about what people think, when you become a mom or a dad, you're going to be that same person and you're going to project that on your kids. So now your kids are forced to live a way that makes you feel good.
Mm.
you
Come
know
on.
and his parents like that. I can honestly say I don't necessarily feel that I had a parent like that. I know when I was going through my season of like homosexuality, just to go ahead and open up a can.
That's all
Um,
right.
yeah, I did. I felt like my mom cared about what people thought. And
Mhm.
I also, I don't know, maybe she should have. Like, I don't know. I shouldn't have been in that anyway, you know.
Mhm.
So a lot of times parents are, trying to tell you if you make certain choices, this is what it's going to be. And as kids, we're on the defense, really just not listening. But like I said, I can only say that about my mom. I don't think I had a bad mom. I just think I had a mom who had to parent she had to do stressful parenting. It's
Mhm.
different levels to parenting.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know it. Mm.
different levels to parenting. And that's the hard part about it. Like I could sit up here and talk about parenting all day just with hindsight though, because when I was in the midst of just things that, happened that affected me, I didn't know how to necessarily communicate it. And I also didn't know stuff was weird until I knew stuff was weird.
Mhm.
So I can say your childhood is important. And
Mhm.
parents, the things that you expose your kids to and allow your kids to be a part of and involved in, how you treat them emotionally, all of that stuff, it really matters because your childhood is really supposed to prepare you for your 20s.
Mhm.
And so many people, they're unprepared in their 20s because they're so hurt by their childhood.
Mhm.
Like they're so like just in pieces about things that happened in their childhood. And that's tough.
I think what I lacked as a parent is providing a safe space for my kids to come to me
Yeah.
about anything, about everything. And because I didn't create that space because I didn't even know how, right? Um I did a lot of policing. I policed what they watched. I even had downloaded things where I was able to see who they text and things like that. Like I was policing them. I really wasn't parenting them, like not really loving them, not really allowing them to have, you know, to become their authentic self. They were always on eggshells with me. And
Yeah.
so when you and I'm just speaking about me because I'm making myself accountable for these things because now I have my youngest who's 11 and I can't make the same mistakes that I had when I was having children and I had, a husband and we had kids together. So I couldn't. All right. So let me go back because
Okay.
when I had my first child,
Right.
I didn't have any more kids until I was well into my adulthood, 8 years later. But she got all, she got everything, we had it was just me and her.
Yeah.
So she was the only child for a long time. So when she was excited to have a sister when I started to have more kids and excited to have a brother. But the level of parenting that I was at that point in my life, I was in an abusive relationship.
Mm.
I was mostly single, with her. And so now she's seeing a side of me that because I'm so frustrated in my relationship that I'm now looking at her and I'm dumping a lot of my junk onto her.
Yeah.
The way that my attitude is. I'm At that time I was also heavily drinking to get through my day with this guy. It was terrible for her. So she saw a side of me um that she never saw before. And
Yeah.
then thank God that I did not stay in that relationship long, but it was long enough it did do damage, you
Yeah.
know? And so it wouldn't be until I was in my well 30s going to the right church to help me realize that I needed to go back, and mend that. There was a lot of things that because she ended up becoming very rebellious, you know. It was she gave me a really hard time, and now I'm raising other children who are seeing this as an example, and I did not know how to handle it, and
Yeah.
so I did things like kick her out too early and not really getting her the support or the help she really needed because I was clueless. I didn't I wasn't I was clueless on how to handle that.
Yeah.
Clueless. And then here I am, I get married, and I think that, oh God, everything is going to be, peachy. There's going to be fatherhood. I'm now looking at it from in retrospect to, you know what I mean? Like this was a godly union and I did everything right. I did all the necessary steps. I did the counseling. We were blending. It was important for us to get the counseling for the blending part because he had kids, I had kids, you know. And then we were blending. So I wanted to do it right and I wanted to do it with a partner. And then like and I tell this is part of my testimony. I did not know that years later he become a pedophile. And
Yeah.
so that, that in itself, I knew that I needed to make sure that the kids got therapy. And it was in therapy where I realized that I had to address the little girl that I'd never addressed. You know what I mean? So here we go. I feel like you have something to add. You want to share?
Listen, I mean, just to hear you talk like that is very powerful because honestly, if more parents would just take a look in the mirror and just say, you know, something like I did some stuff I need to fix. And a lot of kids, adult kids and teenage kids, they're really just looking for an apology at times. But a lot of times parents don't feel that they should apologize. And it's really the reason that a lot of anger is constantly pushed through passed down from generation to generation. People talk about generational curses, but nobody mentions like how anger, the spirit, like an angry spirit, that's a curse. And if nobody addresses it and everybody is just angry and okay, I'm not going to apologize because I provided for you and I did this for you. Kids didn't ask to be here.
That's right.
Parents chose to have them. So at the same time, it's such a two-way street, but it's so many parents that I mean they do things and they don't think about how it is gonna affect the people that you have to touch. And everybody has to get to a point where they realize your behavior is contagious. Your behavior is contagious, whether it's good or bad. So, now that I'm an adult and although I don't I don't have children of my own, I I I touch people, so what am I putting out? Is it good? Am I and everybody, because a parent is really a teacher, a provider, and everybody is that when you really think about it. The only thing that makes you a parent is, giving birth. So it's just parents have to get to a point where they are okay with saying, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And a lot of times families can be free if they just said that. And I remember just really longing for God to mend the relationship with my mom. Because me and her, we was beefing for about 10 to 12 years. We was able to like keep it under the radar because we just really didn't let people know. But I wasn't fooling with her, and I can't say she wasn't fooling with me, but I was angry. Like I had sat back and thought about my entire life. And I thought about it in a way where I looked at it like I'm the one that's at a disadvantage. And then I'm telling you, one day God, like, I don't know if he just pulled it was something over my eyes that was making me look at it like that.
The blinders, yes.
The blinders, yes. Thank you for that help. And I was able to see, like, something in the word, like, everything really does happen for a reason. He's going to use everything that has happened. Even with me, like the sexual assault and stuff like that, God is going to use it, the homosexuality. He's going to use it, but you have to let him in. Life is not easy, and your parents can't make your life easy. They could give you the absolute best version of what they think life is, but at the same time, it's going to be a set of things that you have to go through. And so I even tell my brothers and sisters right now, and I could say this now because I chose to, not continue to blame my parents for my placement. That's the difference. Like, it's not their fault that you're really here as an adult, so, but you, as a parent, as an adult kid, you really can't sit up and wait on an apology either. You gotta move. Time is ticking for everyone. So if you have children and you're upset with your parents, 9 times out of 10, that relationship between you and your kids is going to be broken.
Mm-hmm.
Is no way it can even sustain and have good foundation,
That's right.
because your foundation with your mother and your father is not good. So a lot of adult, or not even adult, because you had your kid when you was 14 years old, but a lot of times people spend so much time saying, I'm not going to be that parent that I had. They forget that they're still responsible for being a child. We're all children to somebody. So although you're an adult to the world, you're still a child to your parents. So if that relationship, you and your dad never made it right, you was able to inflict indirect things on your kids. If I have kids and I didn't never make it right with my mom, I'll be so focused on trying not to do what she did that I'm missing the point of everything that happened in your life. It really happened for you.
Now you
But
said something.
it take a while to start thinking like that,
It's true. It's true. It does take a while, but that's typically after you've been, you've healed from the processes when you start realizing, you know what I mean? All right, let me address what's going on inside first before I can help address, anything or anyone that I love. And it really does. Sometimes people have the strength to, keep loving your parent in spite of. Um, some of the things that I experienced raising, because I've had people help me raise my kids, my sister, my mom. And so, um, one of the things that I struggled with was that my daughter, my oldest, when she didn't talk to me, but she did talk to my mother.
Yeah.
The problem with her talking with my mother was that my mother did offer her the space that she needed to talk to, but when you find out that your mom is like, "Oh, yes, I understand, I agree," but then there was no way to help mend, like they just kept it between them.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So nothing was brought to my attention to talk to me. Listen, this is how she's feeling. How can we, there was nothing working together with me. So she became very spiteful. Not to say that my mother was trying to be, this devious person behind the scenes, but when you don't address what needs to be addressed, if I wasn't being the best mom, I needed to know that. I needed to know how, or even her concerns. The concerns were never brought to me, but my mother knew. So you
I'm
understand what I mean?
Listen, I'm so happy that you brought something like that up, because this is why I truly believe that everyone should understand their placement in a person's life.
Come on.
Like your mother, which is your daughter's grandmother,
Hmm.
is still responsible for being your mother. So yeah, she definitely should have held you accountable by
Yes.
letting you know, like, hey, this is affecting your child. And so
Yes.
many families, they keep their mouth shut, right? Because
Yes.
we get to a point in our lives and we don't want to hurt feelings. We okay with walking on eggshells, although it's a kid that's being hurt.
Yes.
And so when I tell you, like, this is a topic by
Hmm.
itself.
Hmm.
Families, y'all, we got to start talking and saying what needs to be said to
Yeah.
one another. It's a reason why your mother was your daughter's grandmother. But if your mother never understood why she's the grandmother, then she, of course, she failed the test by not telling you. Like I
Hmm.
tell people all the time, it's a reason that, I'm the oldest in my family, like as far as my siblings. It's a
Right.
certain thing that I'm responsible for doing. Whether it hurt y'all feelings or not, I'm gonna have to tell you, bro,
Hmm.
you tripping.
Hmm.
And it's just parent accountability is tricky, because if someone starts to cycle off on rocky ground,
Right.
every other parent after that is going to be trying to fix something instead of just creating a new way of parenting. You don't have to parent like your parents. But in order for you not to parent like your parents, you got to discover who you are.
That's
What
right.
do you like? I grew up, in my opinion, in like stressful. Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like my living conditions were stressful because it was just a lot going on. I wasn't ever really settled. I was always just going from place to place, like from practice to practice. My mom had us heavily involved in stuff. But when
Mhm.
I became an adult, I realized my anxiety is like at an all-time high because I lived my life just like on the go.
Yes.
But you don't know it until you out of it to know, okay, it's a different way of living. So if parents don't kind of research different ways of parenting, different ways of handling things, you know, join maybe a small group with parents who may be dealing with similar situations. Parents are trying to do everything on their own. And they're also trying to live a life because they still do deserve to live a life. So I the whole situation is just something that you really need to have God in the center of it.
You
And
do.
you mentioned that, you found God and, you know, that was the solution right there. And
It
it's
was.
a sense of direction that you can't even explain. We could give parenting advice until we're blue in the face. But if you don't have God, like as the center of your life,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to always be in shambles. I believe that like he's done so much for me. He's done so much for just restoring a relationship with my mom. I had been praying about that, and I'm sure she had been praying about that. And I just remember when we just decided to just say, okay, look, like let's just let it's over with.
Mm-hmm.
Because every night I was going to sleep, I was so angry that I kept thinking something is going to happen, and I'm so angry that I'm going to be that person to say I wish I did, I wish I did, I wish I did. And I'm just I could have waited another 15 years for her to do something. Not to say it would have took her that long, but if you want something to be made right with the person, whether you're the parent, whether you're the kid, you are responsible for making it right. Sometimes you have to be the leader in the situation. So I can't help but look at it just from a two-way angle because I think that more families and more mother-daughter, father-son, you know, mother-son, father-daughter relationships should be restored, and it could be restored just through communication.
Well, promise. Let me tell you something. What I know as far as parenting is that it comes full circle. What I've experienced, what I've experienced as a child, I'm now experiencing with my child. And
Yeah,
now my child, my oldest, she now has a child, right?
yeah,
History is repeating itself. She was also, parent. She became a parent at 16.
yeah.
Um, and then, you know, what I was telling you with as far as I ended up, I'm helping her raise her child, and so the same situation is starting to present itself, where my granddaughter now is confiding in me and telling me how she feels and things like that. And I went for a very long time, didn't say anything, and then it got to the point where, all right, it is really affecting her. Let's start talking, and that was so uncomfortable to do. It was very uncomfortable, but again, I didn't become who I am today without counseling. Like, when this thing happened with my ex-husband, I really had to get the therapy that I needed. It took about 4 years to kind of undo and go back and take care and uproot, things that were really bottle, things that were really like a real strong heavy on my
Oh
back.
my God,
And
somebody just interrupted my whole situation. I'm sorry,
yeah,
hold on.
that's
Somebody called.
okay.
I can't hear you.
Well, I can hear you.
I can't hear you. Come on, I know y'all ain't gonna be calling me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Uh,
Maybe you just need to go back out and come back in. Um, so I'll wait for her to come on. But I think where I was going with this was that okay, she's back on.
So it didn't interrupt anything.
Okay,
I
so now
have
you're
my,
on.
can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. I have my
That's
phone on
okay.
third, but somebody still got a call through. So basically, have you started to, tell your daughter?
Yes,
How
yes.
do you
And let
feel
me tell
about
you,
that?
it was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it got even more uncomfortable because it was very confrontational. It wasn't very, so I was just like, so then, now my granddaughter's behavior is starting to become a little, here we go again with, I'm seeing this all over again, history repeating itself. And what I did not want to do is to allow history to repeat. So now we're getting therapy involved, as you know what I mean. And it's still a struggle today, but I mean, we're now able to talk. We become cordial. There was a lot of things that we had to kind of get out of the way. I had, allow her to vent, allow her to say the things that she needed to say. And in that, I was able to learn a lot about myself that I didn't know that was affecting my own daughter. And so these are all about parent accountability. It's just taking responsibility for the things that your family tells you about yourself. I know it's hard to accept it. I know it's hard to admit it. I mean, the truth is, it's just difficult. It's difficult to admit when we are wrong. And so it's not to say that you failed, right?
Right.
It's not to say that, and I know it makes it hard to deal with, but I even had to listen to my daughter say, we all have narcissistic behavior, mom, if we're not careful. I mean, you had it. And so instead of me getting offended, because at first I looked at her cross-eyed, like, what do you mean I'm narcissistic? What? What are you talking about? And so, again, remember, she was my first. She saw all different aspects of my life, the good, the bad, the ugly. By the time I started having children, I was an adult. I was more independent. I was ready for motherhood. I wasn't ready for motherhood with her, so I have to allow her to be able to tell me her perspective of me. So how am I going to get any better if I can't be teachable? We all have to, and then in return, if I'm able to receive what she has to say, it makes it that much easier for her to receive what I have to say, you know?
Yes, and when you talked about history, first of all, am I in the center of the camera? Cause down
Yes,
here, okay, all right.
yes.
So when you talked about history repeating itself, and that is such a true statement,
Mhm.
and I wish people understood how serious like that whole situation about history is gonna do the exact same thing in a different way. And this is what I love about God. If you don't pass the test, He's gonna allow someone else to take it. But if they don't pass the test, then it's just going to that test is going to just keep being passed down from generation to generation. So, like, your mom didn't pass the test, and now you're in a position where you can make it right. That's the beautiful thing about it. But when you talk about change and breaking generational curses, all of that stuff, those are hard things to do. Change makes you uncomfortable. That's why it was so uncomfortable for you to say something. And I'm so glad, you got over that hump of just being able to say something, because it opened up the door for y'all. Because, see, you and your daughter have to be good in order for your daughter and her granddaughter and your granddaughter to be good. That's just how serious, like, the foundation has to be. And
For
in
sure.
my family right now, the only thing I can focus on, because I'm like, God, you allowed me to be the oldest. And I can see just the brokenness within my family, my mom and her children. To me, it's a lot of brokenness. To me, it's a lot of like
Mm.
pointing the finger. Everybody is pointing the finger. And I'm thinking to myself, well, God, how can you use me in this situation? And I kid you not, He just told me I needed to be an example,
Mm.
because I'm the oldest in my family for a reason. So promise, you have to be the example. I found myself telling them not to do things, but I wasn't living in that.
Sure.
We can't change our parents. You have to accept your parent for who he or she is, but at the same time, you are responsible for your actions. So if you told your daughter something and it's going to help your granddaughter, and you know your heart was in the right place, and your daughter decides to pick you apart, that's just really the spirit of deception. Like, the devil doesn't want you and your daughter to be good because he doesn't
Right.
want your daughter and her daughter to be good. He's after relationships, and he got to start in the home, you know. And like I said, you really, people have to turn to God to be able to see it that clear. The solution is simple.
No, come on.
You know,
Mhm.
it's so simple. I could sit up and talk about all the things that I felt like were terrible, but then when I look around and I look at how God, I mean, I'm so strong in certain areas, and it was because of things that happened in my childhood that made me uncomfortable. And the things that you went through,
Mhm.
um, even the mistakes you made with your kids, this is going to be such a powerful platform that you have. You're
Mhm.
talking way. Why is everybody calling me?
That's what happens, girl. I wish there was a way to um
Like,
I know
I,
it.
I'm confused. But even there's some mistakes that you feel like you made.
Right.
You needed to make those mistakes because
Sure.
I'm so embarrassed.
No, it's okay. It
Like,
happens to me all
this
the
is my
time.
mom calling me. Like, why is she calling? Why? You know? I feel like I'm out of camera. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's on Do Not Disturb. I'm so sorry.
Mm-mm, it's all
But
right.
I think this platform is going to be super, super powerful because you're going to really be able to, and the fact that you healed from it and you've
Mm,
accepted that you've made mistakes is going to make
for
it more
sure.
powerful. You have people writing parenting books, but not being honest about the mistakes they made as a parent.
Yes.
True change happens when people actually give their true testimony. What
Mm,
mistakes did you make? When you look at your daughter and you tell your daughter, I don't think you should talk to that guy, tell her why.
mhm.
Like, be real with your kids. And history also continues to repeat itself because there's so many secrets. People are
Mhm.
not willing to be honest about things that they see.
They wallow in gossip. I don't
Yeah.
understand it why they do it within amongst the family. And I can understand. I can understand sometimes. I understand where it's coming from. It's because he can't really fully confront the person because that person is very confrontational. That's why a lot of gossip starts within the family. They say things because they don't want to be called out into the carpet of being disruptive, saying the truth. But we don't know how to say the truth in love either. That's another issue that we have in a family. You know.
When people realize it, and I had to think about this, it was times where I felt like I couldn't go to my mom and talk to my mom about stuff.
Right.
And when I think about why I felt like I couldn't talk to her, I really don't have a solid reason. Those were things that were just planted in my head, and so when you're a kid, and this is what I want to say to parents who have like kids, your children are under attack. They're being attacked by so many different things in the world, and people used to say stuff to me that would make me feel some type of way about my mama. I'm a kid,
Right.
so my mama is trying to parent. Like, you're trying to parent, everybody is trying to parent, you get me? But when you got to parent against your family, like my mom parenting against things that maybe her family said to her kids, it's just, the devil is after the family.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so easy for us to go out and talk to a stranger about something that we got our mama right there, but we won't even open up our mouth. She got to hear about stuff in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we feel like that? Like, as people, why do we feel like we can go and talk to other people when the person who gave us birth, is right there? So
That just really comes from not making it a safe space to be able to come to your parent. That's I really believe that with all my heart, that it wasn't until I made myself available, I became vulnerable, I went back to, say sorry and was specific about what I was sorry for. That and then it turned into, now my I have a relationship with my adult children. So much so that I had wished, like, wow, where was this, when they were younger, right? And it was really because I didn't create a safe space. Everything that I did was at 100. Everything that I said to them was at 100. There was never a calm, soft moment that I
Yeah.
had with them. Like I said, I was that drill sergeant that they didn't need. What they needed was, I, you know, I was so angry because of what my partner has done that I'm forgetting that I'm bleeding all over because I'm hurt. I'm bleeding all over my kids and I'm taking it out on them. And you know what I mean? Like they couldn't even catch a break. I had to realize that I didn't create the safe space.
Yeah.
You know what really got me humbled was when one of my kids came to me. It was one of my sons, and he literally broke down and tried to explain his hurt to me. And he was so hurt that he just couldn't explain. But because that display of just, I automatically, all I could do was have some compassion for him. And I realized, oh my God, you're such an error. And I stayed quiet for like 2 weeks because I was so upset and disappointed at myself that I got the most quietest kid who don't bother nobody, to
Yeah.
get him to a point of um you know disappointment in me and the way that I hurt him. I hurt him in such a way that's really what got me on, you know I need to do better.
Yeah.
This is some bad behavior, and at that point I recognize there's things in me that are not good. And you can go
Yeah.
to church all day, be part of three what do you say, three services on Sunday, and serve faithfully, because that's who I was. People
Yeah.
either saw me at church or they saw me at the soccer field. But the things that I did at home, the things that I said at home, man, I was a monster. And
Yeah.
so I'm only trying to bring awareness to, and help people be accountable for the way things are in your home. And you and I had this discussion about how I feel like it's really never too late to try to change, to start doing the things and just being the example. Because if you severed, your bridges with your kids, that the only thing that you can do is pray, believe and trust God that God will mend the relationship. But you have to stand still and just wait for that to happen, and also be the example going forward of
Yeah.
whatever that is like. But you have to also address the things that you've done in the past and be specific about it. What helped mend the relationship that I had with my kids, because I was very, very precise, very precise of what I was apologizing for, and gave them examples of even things that they didn't really thought that were kind of small, that I had to address. Like, no, they wasn't small. That was, deliberate, and I shouldn't have said it, and I shouldn't have done it, or whatever the situation was. And I felt like that was so helpful, because when I tell you the relationship that I have, even just with my oldest son, I didn't think I would ever have that.
Yeah.
I'm talking to him about his personal life, his work life, just things that I just never thought that he would ask my opinion for.
And it's just so beautiful what you said, because I can only find God in all of that. Like,
Mm.
even when you was telling me when your son broke down, that's just a form of you being provoked. God has to provoke us in order for us to see our flaws. And like I said, you're a parent, but you're a human. So
Yeah.
we all spend a season lost in the sauce. That's what I call it. Like we all spend a season where we feel like, where we, you okay?
Yes.
We all spend a season. This is just human nature. You all spend a season where you lost in the sauce. You're trying to figure it out. Those blinders are still on your eyes. You can't see you. And then God is going to one day provoke you because He's going to get sick of you contaminating people.
Ooh,
That like
that's good. Say
like
that again. No, run that back for the people in the back that didn't hear that.
let me pat myself on the back.
Yes.
Yeah, God is going to provoke you because He's going to get so sick of you contaminating others. Because those children, you had them, but they're His.
Oh,
You
come
know,
on.
and that's just like you, like
Remind me.
you're His kid, like so He's going to provoke people to change when it's just He's sick of it. God go get sick of it. Just like the Israelites cried out for Jesus to save them, and He finally sent Moses. He got sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you was provoked, when you saw your kid like that, and it activated that change,
Mm-hmm.
and it's beautiful because I wish people knew that the chaos in your house, that's you being provoked. Like you're so uncomfortable in your life because God is really provoking you, but you're so afraid to do something different. And so when we spend that season as humans, we lost in the sauce. We just in a season where the blinders are on. A lot of parents get stuck in that season. They
Mm-hmm.
really get stuck in that season. And it's some situations where your children outgrow the parent. The child outgrows the parent because the parent is still living life with blinders on.
Yeah.
And time doesn't wait for anyone. So when you become of age, like for me, I'm not going to speak ill about, I try not to speak ill about anyone, but I'll say for me to live the life that I want to live, and even when it's time for me to have kids,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be so healthy. Like I'm talking about emotionally, mentally, because I understand how that energy is going to transfer just in my womb, like the way I take care of myself now. But I can't blame my childhood for the type of woman that I want to be and the type of mother that I want to be. And I think that God allows us to see our parents in a way where we can, instead of, and I hate to use the word judge because people just loosely use judge. A lot of times people are not judging you, they're really just telling the truth. But
Yeah.
in a world where those two words are confused. So I hate to use judge, but I'll say alcoholism runs in my family, right? So my mom doesn't drink. But God allowed me to see what alcohol did to my family. And so you could sit back and be like, everybody in the family drink, like all y'all alcoholics. Or you could sit back and look and be like, okay, God, you trying to tell me not to drink. I got you. But children are on the defense. Parents are on the defense. And the devil really just having fun. Because after he break your relationship with your mom or your father,
Right.
he's going to work on the next generation. So the fact that you was able to be provoked and change, and now you're so confident where you are now, you're going to heal a lot of people. You're going to help a lot of people. And like I said, that's why I truly believe finding your purpose is important, and using, just things that hurt you,
Yeah.
because it's going to save people. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I receive everything you're saying. I told you guys, as Michelle Ray said, "Ooh, that was good," when you said about, God is tired of us
I
contaminating other
can't see
people.
anything. I can't see any comments.
But I see it.
Okay. Okay, that's
And
good.
yeah, that's why I had to have you on, because you really have a side of perspective that I think as an adult child, it was important for you to be able to share that with us. I think I don't have any regrets. The only thing I wish I had were the tools I needed when that family traumatic experience happened.
You talking about with your husband?
Yes. I don't always want to use that as an example because there's probably many other things, but I think that was the most important thing because it devastated the entire family. I just wish I had the tools and the grace. I really needed God's grace to love the children the way they needed to be loved. And in that point and in that part when you're not whole, because there were things in my past that had me insecure as an individual, insecure, even in my marriage, even after the marriage, that uh really separates you from being able to really love your children the way they need to be loved because you're stuck trying to love yourself. You can try as a mother. We're just trying to spread our spread us around because it's only one of us. If you're a single parent, it's hard to do that. It's hard to give individuals just your special time with them. I wish that was the only part that I had wished, that even going through the pains of it, that I knew how to love them.
Well,
So I'm only bringing that up real quick to like get that part, you know, if you're struggling with that part of it because your kids need you, just get help with that.
you know, I want to just come from a very general standpoint, and I have to always put a disclaimer out. If the shoe fits, put it on, because it's a lot of kids that came up in situations that were just absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
So what I'm about to say might not be for that group, and let's just say, uh, I want. Hold on, let me take a second to make sure that's what I want to
Hmm.
say. You have to be careful
Hmm.
with the things with the things that you say. So I don't know. Let me just let God use me. Let me let God use me.
Amen.
You said that you wish you had the tools.
Hmm.
Like, come on, another interruption. You said that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes.
Okay, because I can't hear you. But
Yeah.
okay, but if you can hear me, I'm gonna keep going. You
Hmm.
said that you wish you had the tools, and is no way you would have even, got the tools if this never happened.
Hmm.
That's why things have to happen. Bad things have to happen. And a lot of times people, they choose to turn away from God because bad things happen to them. Just
Hmm.
because God exists, it doesn't take your family off limits of being touched. And that's why you got to think about the story of Job. Job was a true servant of God, and he was still provoked. His family was still touched. So life is going to happen either way, and as a victim of sexual assault, not one time, but several times from several different people, it was times where I really, in my head, I
Hmm.
was blaming my mama.
Hmm.
And she wasn't touching me. You wasn't touching your kids. That's not even your burden to carry. And so, but that, I'm telling you, like, shame and being attached to somebody who did that, it'll make you shameful. It'll make you walk around like you didn't touch those kids. You didn't touch those kids. You know what I'm saying? You can't help what the guy did that you decided to trust and love. That's not on you. Now, what you did after, I think that is what you was in a part of that picture, but for so that you can help the kids get the help that they need. That's how you was able to get the tools. And now you're going to be able to use the tools to give other people the tools who are
Hmm.
going to be faced with situations like this. Someone has to be in the hot seat. And you could be the parent in the hot seat or the kid, but if people just realize this life is not easy, nothing about it is easy. Something is going to happen to you. If you decide to stay in it, it's going to affect people that are around you. If you decide to heal from it, I can't hear you at all. Is your mic on?
Yeah, my mic is on.
What?
Maybe we just, yep. Just waiting for her to come back on. This is so good. Here she is.
Sorry and embarrassed.
That's
Oh,
okay.
God. What were you saying?
That I would, if somebody had to be in the hot seat, had I not experienced what I experienced, I wouldn't have gotten the tools to help.
Yes, like this is really, it's a reason that stuff happened in your
Hmm.
family. It's a reason, and and that's so hard to say because of course you didn't want the kids to go through what they went through, even personal struggles that you've encountered. You didn't want to go through that, but then you have to think about it like Jesus did not want to get on the cross. Y'all think Jesus
Right.
didn't want to get crucified?
Right.
Somebody got to be the one to take the
Mm.
hit. And so when you take the hit, what are we going to learn from it? It's a reason I got touched at 13. And then it's a reason that I got touched every time after that. And I really didn't even understand the reason. No, no. I really didn't understand the reason until I became an adult and I realized I continued to get touched and violated and all of the other stuff because I had got caught in just the fear of talking. How is that my mom's fault? You get what I'm saying? She
Hmm.
didn't touch me, and she's not the one that has a noose around my neck. My vocal cord, she doesn't have a gun to my head telling me you better not say nothing. That was me. So as a kid, when I was, when you're 14, 15, 16, and if kids ever hear this, like, y'all are responsible for making the move to open the line of communication. Parents can't read minds.
That's
Y'all
right.
are trying to parent. So if your kid never says anything, you can't blame your mom for not being available when she didn't know that she needed to be available.
But I do want to say something about that, though.
Yeah.
That imagine creating a safe space to talk about strange behaviors and
Yeah.
what to look out for, then you're now equipping your child to notice strange behavior and to understand if it makes you feel uncomfortable, how that is your marker for you to get out, go, get away, eh, go, go to your mom or go to your parent. And then you have a conversation about what made you uncomfortable. And then if there's, what I mean? But imagine if you set your child up for success in that area. And
Yeah.
so that's the part that, hey, that's also considered parent accountability. There's so many things, like there is just you sharing right now, because I didn't know all of that, but you sharing how you've been essayed
I've never even said,
throughout. No,
oh God,
no, but that's okay because
you got me
that's
on
what
here
this
telling my
platform is.
business,
But
friend.
that people say I pull that out of people. I don't know why, but you're not the first person to say that. But that's what this platform is for, is to share the true vulnerability of a survivor, what a real survivor looks like, and how it doesn't have to define us, how it doesn't have to, put a wrench in our, it might have put a wrench temporarily, but you can grow from it, and you can learn from it, and you can help others with it. And that's the experience that you have these all of these experiences. But like, there was just no reason why you at 13 and going forward, that pedophilia followed you, because it seems like that spirit in itself, once once a child has been molested, raped, or whatever, it seems like what happens again, because either the child doesn't get rehabilitated, because they don't have, I know for a fact that I didn't get rehabilitated the first time it happened, the first time it was exposed, and then here I am. I go right back into another situation with an assistant pastor, who then molested me, who was close friends with the family, and then and then I put myself in other situations where I was raped in, because I never got the tools to, hey, this is what strange behavior looks like. The things when I was 12 years old that I would hear from this assistant pastor say to me, they were uncomfortable things and he should not have said them to me. But because I didn't have a relationship with my parents, who could I have said that to? You understand what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yes, the relationship, it matters. God, it
It
does.
does.
And I didn't grow up with my dad. I had a guy step in, and he was a father figure to me, and
Hmm.
he did the best he could, but he was not my dad. And when I think about how sometimes not having him, I think that played a part in me being open to things like that happening.
Hmm.
But then again, in hindsight, some things you really don't know. Like I
Hmm.
don't understand so much. And when I realized that, I was being touched on at 13 when it first started, like I realized it. But for so many years, I was in denial. I was like, well, he didn't do this, so maybe it's not that. And
Hmm.
then the next person. So that's why I said the kids are under attack. Even if you create the safe space, your child is already, the
Hmm.
blinders are on.
Hmm.
That's why it's so important that you stay in prayer for your kids,
Yeah.
because you can't save your children. They have to save themselves. And that is so, I know, people probably gonna say, oh, that's crazy. You're supposed to provide the safe space. You're
Hmm.
supposed to be a great
Sure.
parent. But at the same time, when you reach a certain age, like 13, 14, the
Yeah.
devil is attacking your child.
Yeah.
He's attacking you as the parent. He's attacking you as the child. That's
Hmm.
why if God is not in the center of that house, it's going to be a whole lot of chaos.
Hmm.
And me not really knowing how to speak up about the sexual assault, because like you said, I didn't know that that's what it was. So I thought that like being touched on like in a way was like, okay, that's what, okay, I'm a woman. Like if I go out on a date with a guy, and for a long time I thought, well, I'm probably gonna have to do it, or I'm probably gonna have to let him hug me or
Hmm.
kiss me. Maybe that started when I was 13.
Hmm.
Maybe my voice was like muted at 13, where I didn't know how to speak up, because once something happens to you, you really I blamed me. Like
Hmm.
what I did. Why you do that to me? And so kids are battling things, and it's making them look at their parents in a weird way. But at the same time, a lot of parents are not paying attention because you're so busy doing other things. I felt, got to a point where I had to tell my mom, I feel like you got a whole lot of stuff on your plate. And I think that's why you're missing a lot of stuff. But I couldn't
Hmm.
do that until I was good and grown.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it like that. So mending relationships, it it really, it's a two-way street, because
Yeah.
even if you apologize as the parent, your child has to choose to say, okay, we done with it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
you have to be okay with them not choosing. Like they could say, well, no, you've done too much.
Touch on it.
A lot of times people think just because they apologize, oh, it's just good. No, that person don't have to let you back in.
Right.
And that's a bed that you have to lay in if you decide to be a certain type of parent.
Yes.
So it's I don't think it's really a
Woo.
solution to the chaos of parenting, and to the chaos of having a dysfunctional relationship with your children and children with their parents. I don't think it's like one solution.
Right.
It's God, but people don't want to hear about God. People don't really want to hear about God. So if we looking for one specific worldly solution, we'll never find it, because
Hmm.
everybody has a different type of child, and
Hmm.
everybody has a different type of parent. And until those two can learn to love and accept each other for who they are, I mean, parenting is going to be an ongoing issue
Hmm.
for a long time.
Hmm.
And it's, a lot of times it's not just the parent fault either now. Y'all kids got to get it together now. We
To be
can't keep
fair,
blame. It's easy to blame. It's easy to blame mama. It's easy to blame
it's
daddy.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when they get to be into adulthood, that you got to start taking accountability for the things that you can control, the things that you're responsible for. I'm glad that you brought up, we got to also as parents accept the fact that maybe they don't want to forgive. Yeah, I think I dealt with a lot of that with my oldest, that she was just stuck on all the things that happened in her childhood, that she held dear to her, and we were never to have a conversation without having to go through all of that. And then there had to be a time where I said, okay, I've apologized. I've done everything that I'm trying to build a better relationship with you, but you're still stuck. You're still so stuck. And I can't help that.
Yeah.
I'm just who I am right now,
Yeah.
and so that took years. That didn't take, promise, that didn't take, a year to, I mean, it took like a
Yeah.
decade for her to finally let go and finally be able to, tread with me on this journey of, hey, we're trying to be whole in 2024, and we're going to have conversations, even uncomfortable ones, where we don't have to hang up on the phone on each other, which she absolutely hates.
Yes. Me, me,
You know
me
what
and
I
my
mean?
mom, we went through a cycle for about 10 years as well. And I just want to say, like, hats off to you and your daughter for trying to
Yeah.
be just a better example of a mother and daughter relationship in 2024. Because whether y'all believe it or not, people are watching. People are
Mhm.
watching how you are with your kids. Everybody's being watched in some form or fashion. But I'll say, I had a very unforgiving spirit for about 10 years. And
Mhm.
I remember going into 2024, and especially with me working on my brand, and just God has opened up so many doors for me over the past year, and I'm super thankful for him. But it was a point not too long ago, I was like, I desperately want to have a relationship with my mom. And I was so close to throwing in the towel. And I just remember just really like fasting and praying about that relationship. And one day, she and I, we started doing counseling. And
I'm so happy for you.
it was so hard. It was so hard to go through counseling. And it was just a fussing match. And I kid you not, every night I thought about if my mama didn't wake up. I didn't even think about if I didn't wake up. I was thinking about if my mom doesn't wake up tomorrow, I'm a piss poor example of a daughter.
Mhm.
Because you have to start thinking about, although she may have done things that I didn't think was right, you gotta take you out of it when you get
Mhm.
to a certain point, because in order for you to become the best version of you, you gotta take you out of it. Because the longer I started thinking about, and I kept thinking about all the things that I felt like happened to me, I couldn't see all the things that happened for me.
Mhm.
Like, those things happened for me. So when she was apologetic, and I was like, something, yeah, and I was apologetic. Sometimes you could get so fed up. I was so fed up that I didn't care about anything I thought my mom had, because
Mhm.
I realized that every day I laid my head on the pillow and I wasn't right with her. And when I say right, I'm not saying we got to be best friends, but my heart needed to be in a better place. And every night I laid down, I realized, man, God's shaving off a lot of my days for this.
Mhm.
And even he's been working on me, just thinking about the relationship with my father, my biological father. He's pushing me, he's provoking me to do something very soon about that. And you have to realize sometimes you gotta be the one to break the curse.
Come
If you waiting on,
on.
yeah, it's like if you waiting on your mama to do it or your daddy to do it, it's never gonna be done. Some
So
people don't know how to do it, and God will let you see how to do it. You just got to step into how to do
that's right.
it. And,
So I love that from, okay, so those of you who are just tuning in are going to be catching the replay. Listen,
yeah,
she's an adult child who took the necessary steps to get in counseling because she knew that her relationship with her mother wasn't well. And she
Yeah.
did not want something to happen, which was what happens all the time, where,
Yeah.
we lose our loved ones and we didn't have an opportunity to say we were sorry or have an opportunity to say, hey, I just want to drop whatever it is that that's been keeping us, bickering. And I just want to be able to, like, hey, just love on you, just spend the rest of our moments together. Like, we
Yeah.
don't really
And,
do enough of that.
and I want
And
to, I'm sorry, I want to just throw this in there because not only, speak up on with your parents, you also want to speak about the things that if they did something,
Mhm,
you gotta stand on that.
mhm,
As a kid, like, I'm not trying to come into this situation apologizing about anything because a lot of times parents do a lot of provoking. They don't even know that they're provoking their children
right.
into acting in certain ways. So if
Correct.
your parents did something to you and it's bothering you, maybe they said something that you don't like, or maybe they did something that you don't like, you're responsible for speaking up on that.
Hmm.
So even making it right with your mom, it doesn't always have to be you being apologetic, forgiving. Sometimes it's about you really saying what needs to be said as well.
Hmm.
And I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to throw
No,
that in.
no, that's good. That's good. I just, you don't have to. I think what I got, that was probably something that, my daughter, one, my kids said, hey, you're the parent. You set the, you set the example, or you're the parent, like, putting it a lot on the parent. But sometimes, being a parent, that we are very stubborn. We don't always see, the negative things about us. And, we have to get to, so as an adult child, take the necessary steps if you want something, mended, to just go ahead and make those steps. I mean, she did them, and I'm sure it's still a walking progress, right? A working progress.
Yeah, it is. And when I'm gonna say this specifically to teenage kids, because this is where the relationship starts to break. 13, 12, 13, 14, and so far. And I want to say, with parents and kids, y'all are supposed to sharpen one another.
That's right.
This is why it's so important to be, very open-minded to what your children have to say. Now, a lot of times you hear parents say, well, they don't know what they're talking about their kids. And a lot of times, I'm gonna be honest, they don't know what they're talking about. But every now and then your kid is gonna say something that if you was paying attention, it really could change the trajectory of where the relationship is going. But we have relationships where it's a one-way street. The parent
Hmm.
is doing all of the teaching and all of the judging. Parents, you're going to be judged by what your children think of you, and
Hmm.
that matters.
Yes.
And you wouldn't be a parent, and you wouldn't be a parent to that specific kid if their opinion didn't matter. Now, at the same time, it's a lot of kids that got blinders on. The devil has their mind, and they
Hmm.
can't see clearly. And
Hmm.
then you hear kids, I said it, I hear my brothers and sisters say it, you our mama, you supposed to take care of us. That's that. I
True.
mean, it's like the wrong thing to say. Yes, that is your parent. But at the same time, what are you doing to push the needle forward for you? It's only so far your mom can get you, your dad can get you. Once they get you to the point where, and I'm not talking about 18, some parents really just cannot get their kids past a certain point. And that's why
That's
the
true.
phrase, it takes a village to raise a kid, is so important. Who else is around you? And as a young teen, what village are you in? Because at that time, you start picking your friends. So, it's so easy to put the blame on our parents. And another thing, I'm not saying, the parents who really just terrible parents, this is not for y'all to give you a slap on the wrist. You're a terrible parent. Live in that and make it right. But to the parents that's really trying,
Yeah.
and they really just don't know what they're doing wrong. They don't know because the kids are not saying anything. They're
Yeah.
holding all of that stuff in. They're becoming angry. They're confining other people,
For sure.
and they're talking to everybody but the source.
Mhm.
Source is your mom, is your dad, and your source should be God. So it's everything in the family dynamic right now is so out of order. It's out of alignment. That's why families are able to be torn apart. My family is. I'm praying for God to continue to just restore
Mhm.
my because when it's on rocky foundation,
Yeah.
it's going to take everybody to do their part, to get it back to a place
Whew.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I
Yes.
wanted, I wanted to get on here. Don't get me wrong. Listen, I was sitting down. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get on here and say some stuff about parents. I really don't know what to say. God has allowed me to see parenting in a different way,
Mhm.
and, and I'm so thankful that God put on my heart one day. I was so upset at my mom, and I was like, something. We got less than 36 hours.
Mhm.
I can't bring this into 2024. So I was praying. I was really serious about this, and God told me to write a letter. And so I woke up one morning and I started to write a letter. And I was thinking, I'm gonna write the letter and give it to her. I got like to page 5, and I just started crying. And I'm like, wow, God, something? You wanted me to write the letter for me. As I was writing the letter and reading over it, I realized everything that I was upset about, my mom really didn't inflict that on me. Not everything.
Mhm.
Like she did. But it's so easy to blame mom. It's so easy to feel like they're just terrible people.
Mhm.
So I couldn't even bash the parents today. Dang, y'all gotta. I'm on y'all side because I really do. I just think. I think what you're doing is amazing. I think you needed to be provoked in your personal life. And I
Yeah.
hope you continue to reach back and discover, like, even from 14, like,
Mhm.
you know, your
I've
dad.
come a long way.
Yeah, yeah. And even though he wasn't available to you in the way you thought he should have been,
Yeah.
I think he made a woman out of you, like a,
Mhm.
a, a Proverbs 31 woman out of you.
Ooh, I receive it.
I really believe that. Because you've gone through a lot and you've chosen to, as I say, pick up the cross and like do something with that pain. And even if your kids can't see it, and even if it takes them 10 to 12 years, you're only responsible for you and what you bring to the table. You can't make a person do nothing they don't want to do.
Ain't that the facts?
Yeah.
Well, this was great.
Girl, I don't even know what's going on the other side. I wanted to keep up with the live, but I still hadn't even been able to log in. That's crazy.
Oh, okay. Well, I did share it and tag you to it, or
I think I shared it on my Facebook, but how you was able to see the comments, I'm glad I was.
yeah, so it wasn't too many comments. I'd had Michelle Ray say she had to go, but and this is why I don't like to make it too late, but thank you so much for being so gracious and to allow me to push this back an hour.
No,
Um
look, I think it happened right when it needed to happen. If you're able to save this, you need to save it and go back and tell your story.
mhm.
This is your platform, and I think the things that you have to say about, what you experienced as a kid and how, like,
Mhm.
talk about it.
I
Take this
do.
clip, yeah, like clip it up and make you some reels and put it out there because I think that's the only
I'm
way.
not as good as you. You're real savvy with all of that.
I don't even know if it's that I'm savvy or if it's that I'm just not afraid. And
Ah,
I being on the internet is so hard. I tell people that all the time because
it is
people
all right.
pick me apart. They say mean things to me. They misinterpret my message.
Mhm.
This is a hard place to be. But if more people stood and walked
Mhm.
into their purpose, like the internet doesn't have to be as toxic as people talk about it. Like
Yeah.
it's good people out here, but you have to walk into it, and you also have to be ready for people to, say stuff.
Mm, for sure. Because even when I comment on things, like there was this um uh there was this child who they the content that she was putting out was that um she was pretty much talking back to her mom, and everybody think it's funny,
Mhm.
right? And so I'm like, I mean, she's so adorable, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, not everything is meant for you to post. If that's what you do behind closed doors and all of that, just know that if you're going to start posting things, people are going to have an opinion about it. And I just feel like sometimes the things that we post and that we allow our kids to do, you know, maybe we shouldn't promote that. Oh, all she wants to do is fight, and the people in the comments are eating it up like, oh, she chooses violence every time. And so that's the kind of
Yeah,
content that she's putting out, that, because she's also like special needs, but
yeah,
and she's talking like, hey girls, I'm ready to do this, I'm ready to fight. You know what I mean? No, she's not my sister. I'm about to fight her. Like that kind of stuff that's going on, and they sit in the background like it's funny and all of that. And then because I had an opinion about it, somebody says one would wonder what your kids are doing, um, looking at social media. And I felt like saying, well, my kids are adults. But I didn't go back and forth with them, but people do and will have opinions about that. And I think that's probably the part that I don't think I can handle very well. That's why I only do this thing once a month.
yeah. And I hate to tell you, but you're selling yourself short because, um, listen, I'm telling you this because I promise you, I wake up, I have to deal with it every day. People write me strange things. They say strange things about me, and it's very hurtful to my flesh. But if
Mm,
you really on the walk with God, like you say you're on the walk with God, you will know, like, you're going to be provoked. People are going to have to say things to you because if you're really walking in your purpose, the devil is also still trying to attack you.
mhm.
So it's so easy for somebody to say, I wonder what your kids are doing, and you feel triggered, and then like, okay, well, I'm not gonna say nothing else. Versus, if your mission is parent accountability, see videos like that and get creative and make content about how a parent could do something different or better. But when you make it, understand that people are going to say, you need to mind you need to worry about your
Very
kids.
true. I could
You
just
need
scroll
to,
past. Exactly.
but you, if you
Mhm.
really, now that's why I say you got to make sure this is what you want. Are you really standing for parent accountability? You don't have to do it on the internet, but why not? This is the big place that people need to be influenced. So if you don't influence parents in the way that you know God is leading you to do it, somebody else is going to influence parents in a way
Mhm.
probably not going to be as good. So if you
Mhm.
don't do it, history is going to continue to repeat itself, and that's what you have to understand. Like, when
All
it's a
right.
calling on your, yeah, when it's a
Mhm.
calling on your life, you got to walk in it. If you don't, it's a generation of people, it's a nation of people that are going to suffer because of you. If
Mhm.
Moses never did what he was supposed to do,
That's true.
the Israelites would still be in there, you know.
In
And
fact.
even you got to understand, even with him doing and leading the way he did, they still complain. When you
Mhm.
can understand, it's gonna still be some complainers. You'll be all right. You'll press that post button. You'll book more people to get on your platform.
Mm.
And I want that for you, sis. I really
Amen.
look. I'm on your team.
Ah!
I love you from
Well,
the
thank
first
you.
moment. Yes, I love you from the first moment I talked to you, and I'm genuine with,
Thank
with
you.
with what I do. I've had several people ask me to do a podcast, but yours really it caught my attention. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I can't thank you enough. But one thing you're gonna know is that I'm gonna be a fan for life.
Me too. I'm a fan of yours. I don't want no fans. I
But I'm
honestly,
gonna be
I
your biggest
want
supporter. So I just want to let you know that I'll be all up in your comments and all up in your posts and all of that, sharing your content, because I really believe in and pretty much everything that you have said. Um, Also, what caught my attention was a post that you had posted, and you were just being. I just felt like you were being so. This is the first time I ever saw you, first thing I ever heard you, and I'm like, wow, she just spoke to me, and I felt like you were being so authentic, and you were just in your room, just just saying, hey, a lot of times, when I was a little girl, I realized the things that they were, my family, my auntie or whoever, was saying something about another family member, and you
Yeah.
realize how you didn't even realize it until you got into an adult, for you to realize what was actually being said, and all those little things that were being said in secret, but like at the same time in front of kids, in front of you, even how that plays a really terrible role in a child, to deal with how to decipher things like that. You know what I mean?
And all if you want to go just a step deeper into that, sitting amongst things like that, when people do and say things around children, they're planting seeds.
Yes.
See, what people don't understand, the devil wants to attack kids because children, that's soil, that's good soil.
Mm-hmm.
That's like pure soil. So if he could plant seeds on soil like that, children have to grow up.
Mm.
So your child, all these confusing seeds are being planted on them, and it's not even the parent. It's the family. It's the friends. It's the people that's just saying weird things about your mother or your father, when they are really supposed to just be protecting you, or hey, have your mom back. Grown people know that they shouldn't say some of this stuff.
They
But
do.
everybody is thinking that children are just in the earth, not being affected by the tongue.
We're
That's
too
why,
busy, since we're too busy saying, stay out of grown folk business.
yeah. But you planting, you sowing a seed on that soil. When you sit up and do weird and strange things in front of your children, you're planting a seed on good soil. God has something special for all children. Children don't just come out bad.
I don't.
Yeah, seeds are planted. And once those seeds are planted, they start to grow.
Yeah.
So I
Mm.
I posted myself one day, and it felt like God
Nah,
had.
it was so authentic. Promise. I promise you. Like I was hooked. So then after that, I went all up on your page, liked a whole bunch of things, and then it was dropped in my spirit to call. Like,
Man,
I
I'm
don't
so
know if
happy.
I'm ever gonna reach her, but hey, I'm just gonna send a message.
I'm so happy you did. And I try to respond to all of my messages because this whole influencer thing, I don't y'all say that about me. And I'm always just constantly praying that God, you know, keeps me in a humble
Mm,
place,
mhm,
allows me to not look at my comments and look at my inbox and think that these people don't matter, because my stuff would not get shared or influence people if other people, didn't like it. So you
mhm.
do have a lot of influencers, they get so above themselves, they can't even respond. Hire somebody to do it if you have the money to do it, but show people who are showing you love,
Mhm.
appreciation, and gratitude. God blesses gratitude.
Yes.
Yeah. You know,
Mm.
I love you, girl.
I love you too. Well, listen, this is not going to be the last of us having a
Yeah.
discussion on live. I'm sure that there'll be other topics that'll come up, and she's just a wonderful person to even just follow. She does get back to you if you have messages, but she has a lot more content than we're having here today. So I just encourage you guys to follow her now. Now, as far as this platform is concerned, I do have a private page for this platform. It is called They Took My Choice Away Survivor Series. I have made that into, that's where I put all my content, as far as, or any content, especially like the lives, it goes in there. But I also have a YouTube channel as well, under Nettie Long Poetry. I am a poet.
Yes. Let's do a poetry
And
blast one day.
yeah, we can, and I know you got some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
Let the
let's
people
do
hear.
it.
Let the people hear.
Put it together.
Um, but yeah, so listen. Even if this doesn't pertain to you, and you may not be a parent, but you understood the content that was being said today, please share it. Share it on your platforms. You never know who it's going to help, who it's going to save. And this is Promise Israel, y'all.
No.
All right. Well, you stay on. I'm just gonna end the live. I just want to talk to you for a few minutes after.
Okay.
But I love you guys. We'll
Bye,
talk to you
y'all.
soon. Bye.